Hello everyone, my name is Jen and welcome to the Book Refuge. Okay, hey. So this morning I'm sitting down to film my February wrap up because yes, the shortest month of the year has coming on. And though I will say it didn't feel as long as January, which we all know is the longest month in recorded history, but I am still dealing with my back injury, and that has made every day feel like 2 days put into one. But we're looking up, it's looking good. And today, the day I'm filming this, is the start of Realmathon, which I've talked in previous videos about, and I hope you are participating in that with me. And I'm very excited to get into it. It's going to be a fun time. So we're going to do my February wrap up. I also need to film a weekly wrap up, which will go up before this, but I decided I wanted to talk about all my favorite books first and then we'll do my weekly wrap up. Not that I had like bad books that I read during the week. I just wanted to start by talking about my favorite books to get me warmed up. So let's go ahead and dive into this. If you are new to my monthly wrap ups, I do not talk about every single book that I've read, though no, it would still be really long. This is, of course, a smaller amount of books than I normally read, which makes sense because it's the, shortest month. But I only talk about my top 5 favorites, just to condense it for time, because if I talked about every single book that I read, it would take a really long time. In fact, it has. It's taken hours. And if you check out my weekly wrap-ups, which I have linked up here, you will see how much I talk about books week to week. So we condensed it a little bit here. So first off, I'll start with the little bit of stats, because stats are for nerds and a lot of us book lovers are nerds. And then I will gush about my favorite 5 books that I read this month and convince you that you also need them in your life and that you should go read them immediately. I will have links to all those books down below, and yeah, we're just gonna have a great time. So let's get into it. So the month of February, I read 29 books for a total of 11,576 pages, which is just nuts. That's almost the same amount of pages as last month, because I read a few really big books this month, which is for sure. Here's my cute little bullet journal for this one. I'm really proud of myself. It's so cute. The format of these books is that I had 10 physical copies that I read. There was 14 audiobooks, and between that, there was 10 of those that were advanced listening copies. The other 4 were just audios that I wanted to listen to. Well, I wanted to listen to all of them, but you get what I mean, you guys. Okay, you get it. Then there was 20 ebooks, 15 of which were ARCs, and 5 of which were ebooks, just because. So that is the breakdown of those. The subgenres of these books were as follows. I had 14 contemporary books, which, as you can see, that is straight up like half of what I read this month. I had 4 dark romance, 2 erotic romance, 1 fan fiction, 5 fantasy, 1 historical, 1 suspense, and 1 other. Now, I do wish that I had gotten through more fantasy in February, because it was Fantasy Romance February, and I was like, yeah, but still, that's like a good, that's a good amount. In January, though, I did read 4 fantasy, so it was kind of the same, which is okay. There's nothing wrong with that, but I wish it had been more, and I definitely wish I had gotten to more historical, but it was kind of a thing of like, I felt torn between historical and fantasy, because those are kind of the ones that are, I don't know, those are the ones that feel like I'm taking a bit more of a risk on when I read. I don't know, but that's the subgenre breakdown. The ratings for this were, I had 2 6-star reads. One of those was a reread. The other one was a new to me one. I had 7 5-star reads, 5 4.5 stars, 10 4 stars, 3 3.5 stars, 1 3-star, and 1 DNF. Okay. So that is the breakdown of that. Let us get into what my favorites were. Okay. So the first one I got to talk about is the one that I gave 6 stars to, the one that nobody is surprised that I gave 6 stars to, the one that has my whole heart right now, and I'm going to be rereading it in March because I'm going to be annotating it for some people, and I'm already just so excited. And that is, of course, By the Letter by Julia Wolf, okay? Now, if you are new to this channel, this isn't a surprise to most people who aren't new, is what I meant to say, because Julia Wolf is, like, honestly, by far and away, my favorite author lately, just for consistency of release and consistency of quality. In my opinion, in the last 3 years, I have pretty much loved everything she's written. I think the lowest I gave something in the last couple of years was like a 4-star, but otherwise they've been 5 or 6 stars. There is just something about how she particularly writes her male characters where whatever their flaws are, they are incredibly possessive, emotionally intelligent. They go after the women that they want. They give them everything their hearts desire, and it is beautiful to witness, okay? Now, particularly within the billionaire realm, that is a bit easier than in other places, and I know not everyone's feeling the most warm and fuzzies for billionaires. However, I'm fine for however other people want to feel about, you know, whether they feel comfortable reading certain tropes or whatnot. That is not what's happening at the Book Refuge, okay? It is about the story for me. I'm willing to read kind of everything. And honestly, billionaire romances have treated me pretty well over the years. Quite a few of my favorites have been up in there because, you know, let's admit, when the man has money bags galore, he can, you know, kind of give you anything that your heart desires. And for me, reading is a lot about fantasy, you know? There's a lot of other things reading is, but it's a lot about fantasy as well. And the way that Julia Wolf writes a man to me is so... it's just, I struggle putting it into words. But yeah, let's break down this story a little bit. And because this is my favorites, I will go a bit deeper into the things that really moved me with this book. Because unlike a book, let's say, like P.S. You're Intolerable, which, again, that was my favorite book of 2023. Loved it. Magnificent. This one, I think, throws people off a bit more. And the things that happen in the first third of this book may throw you off and not have you so excited about this hero or so excited about how this story is going to go. Another group of people will maybe be a lot thrown off by the heroine, and not be able to quite get on Shira, like understand why Shira, it feels like she gets walked all over the place. Even though, I mean, there's more to that in here. So again, with P.S. You're Intolerable, I feel like with that one, it is relatively easy for me to just straight up be like, everybody read this and don't just go, because there's not a lot to really hold you back in that one. And in this one, there's some more work being done. That's for sure. Like, there is some work being done. Anyway, let me explain a bit why. So in By the Letter, we have Shira, who is our heroine, and the beginning of this book, she is having this really sexy encounter with a masked man whose name is Win, and they've met on this app for kind of kinky delights, and they end up meeting up at this sex club where they both wear masks, and they get brought to this room. One of the women who works at the sex club is actually the one who, like, sets up their meeting. They don't know who each other are, and they've agreed that they want to have one night of just, like, wild abandon, and the heroine doesn't want to know his name. He isn't going to know her name. It's kind of a free use situation. She wants him to do whatever he wants to her, and this doesn't get, like, crazy kinky. Like, it's not like he's doing super nuts things to her. It's just a lot of, like, I'm just gonna fuck you all night and you let me know if it's too much. And she wants that to happen. So they have this night. At the very last time, the condom breaks, because this is an accidental pregnancy. And Win, the man she just fucked, is like, hey, I will leave my info at the front desk. You know, if the worst happens, just reach out to me, because I absolutely want to help out if it does, but I had a wonderful night with you. Let's not let it spoil it. Let's have a good night. And Shira's like, yeah, fine. Not worried about it. Cool. Let's go about our life. And then they go separate ways. So, of course, we know we're going to be seeing this guy again, because this is an accidental pregnancy and she's going to be with that guy. But when we meet now Roman Wells, who is an ex-rugby star, and he's a new investor in Shira's struggling business, a business that was left to her by her much older husband who recently passed away. She is very overwhelmed in this business. She's not really meant to be like this type of business owner, and things are kind of falling apart. And Roman Wells has a bit of a connection with said husband, and he's been told by Shira's stepdaughter, who I believe the stepdaughter is possibly like the same age as her, like it was that type of marriage, right? That Shira is a gold digger and that she's running the business into the ground. And because Roman has a business with his brother where they invest in companies and help keep them going, which if you've read in the details, that's where we first meet Roman. Shira is friends with Clara, but we first meet Roman in that book when he is investing in Jake's family company, and it causes problems in there. I mean, Roman doesn't really cause us problems. It's someone else, but like he's the one who kind of like steps in that situation. And yeah, and so Roman comes in and he wants to kind of save this business and try to help the employees who would be losing their job if Shira drops the ball. And he really kind of gets the wrong impression of Shira. She is very shy. She's very reserved. It doesn't mean she's not a caring person. It doesn't mean she's not an absolutely beautiful soul, but she is not Roman's idea of like a businesswoman. And again, he has some people kind of whispering in his ear, aka the stepdaughter, saying not the best things. And he sees this beautiful young woman who is married to this old man who's left all this money, and she's running this business into the ground. Okay. That is all of the setup of this story, right? You know, I haven't gone in any further. But what makes this book very difficult at the beginning, at least it did for me, and what I'm also seeing in a few of the reviews for it, is that Roman, of course, comes off as an absolute ass, because when we're in Shira's point of view, we're just seeing him constantly undercut her and try to challenge her into, you know, what are you doing with this business? And Shira, again, is just kind of like overwhelmed by it. And again, she's very shy. She never wanted to be running this business. There are reasons why she was married to the man she was married to, and it didn't have to do with her being a gold digger. Like, it really didn't. But she was being taken care of by her husband. We will say that, but it wasn't as black and white as, you know, her stepdaughter and Roman kind of make it appear, shall we say. So again, Roman has gotten kind of the wrong idea, and instead of really like working with Shira, he basically gets it that he is going to take over the company and force Shira out. So that is who we're dealing with here. And it can make him look like a real jackass. And in the way that Julia Wolf does an amazing job of making you feel hopeless in one moment. You know, I felt that way about Kit when I was reading P.S. You're Intolerable, just the weight of her responsibility of being a pregnant single mom and like having no money and working for this kind of a jerk. You know, like there are some similarities in that aspect. But while Roman is in the middle of taking over this business, again, this is the beginning of the book. Okay, this is all the beginning of it. Although you should probably skip if you don't want to know what was difficult about this, right? Shira discovers she's pregnant. And remember, she doesn't know who she had sex with, but she had never had the opportunity to have children with her husband, again, who is much older than her and who was dying. And so to her, you know, again, this man she had slept with had said, if the worst happens, please reach out to me. That isn't just a line. Like, please reach out to me. I want to be involved. And to her, it isn't the worst thing. It's actually maybe the best thing, because she wants someone to pour her love into and someone that can be her family, because she doesn't have any family but her friends. And so she does reach out to that sex club to say she needs the information of this man. And wouldn't you know it, the man who she reaches out to is Roman. At the same time that he has just wrested control of her business from out from under her, basically laid her off. You know, she still owns part of the company, but she has no say anymore. And she has been unceremoniously let go from this. And now she's found out she's pregnant. It's not that she'll be poor, she'll be out, anything, but it's emotionally a blow. And Roman, who thinks he's done the best, like it's not like he feels good about any of this, by the way, or he wouldn't be a good hero. But he does think he's doing what's best for this company of this man that he respected, and he's seeing this, again, who he thinks is a gold-digging wife, taking advantage of it, and then he gets reached out to by this woman that he had an amazing night with, and he goes to meet her. You know, he understands right away why she needs to talk to him, because he said, reach out to me if this happens, and then it's Shira. So not only is he now, you know, in this company realizing that a lot of the employees are very mad at him for what he's done and crazy stuff is happening. This woman that he has just, you know, backstabbed and removed from her position is now his baby mama. And very quickly, Roman Wells realizes that he done fucked up, that things are not as they seem. And now this baby that he does want to be a father to desperately, he is in a very interesting position. So, I mean, this is my favorites of the month. You knew I was going to talk deep into this. But what I'll say is that setup alone, it hurts, you guys. Like, it hurts to read it. And you know this, you know, if you're a romance lover at all, you know that everything that Roman says and every action that he does in the beginning of this book where he's being a jackass, that the bill is going to come due for that. He's incurring a debt to us, the reader, and to Shira, you know, his future baby mama, that he's going to have to pay off. And there are points in that beginning part where I'm like, Julia Wolf, what are you doing to me? Like, I cried a few times. It was very hard to see. But what she's able to balance very well is when you're in Shira's chapter, you see how everything has spun out of control, and that Shira hasn't said things when she should have, and she has let herself be steamrolled because she's not an assertive person. And like, that's okay. That doesn't make her weak to be shy and reserved. But it does mean she's maybe not the best suited to be the head of a business like this. Like, it can mean both things, right? It can also mean that her stepdaughter is a raging bitch who is spoiled and doesn't like that Shira has told her no sometimes, you know? And Roman is very quickly going to have to figure this out. And with the help of his 3 brothers, because yes, we have the Wells brothers who will be getting a series after this series, by the way, we are introduced to his brothers, Ben, Nate, and I can't remember the last guy's name. Is it Cam, maybe? I don't know, but he has 3 brothers who will get a series after this. And he's going to figure it out, okay? So again, what makes Julia Wolf work so well for me is that I would have probably DNF'd this book, and not because it was so bad, but like it hurts your guts, you guys. Like, they're going to hurt, and you're going to be like, I can't believe in this man. I'm done with him. I'm done with him. It helps that he doesn't say anything completely irrevocable. It's just, there are a lot of misunderstandings, and there's also Shira, like, not speaking up at all. Okay, so just putting that out there. But he's incurring this debt with both Shira and with us as the reader. And there's no other author, truly, that I would trust to give Roman the redemption that he needs, right? And to give him a grovel that not only makes us care about him, but realize that he is actually a perfect man for Shira. And the way that he was protective over this business of a dead guy, tenfold will he be protective over this woman who he realizes he's misjudged, who he has hurt, and who he needs to get down on his goddamn knees and beg forgiveness for, because he wants to not only be a father to her child and be in her life, but be the man that she deserves. So, there we go. That is probably the fullest and deepest explanation that I will give of this book, because I'm going to be talking about it a lot for the next 10 months, because this was my first 6-star read, which means it's going to be on my favorites list, which means it's going to be all over the place, okay? So if you remember what it was like in 2023 and 2024 when I talked about P.S. You're Intolerable until my tongue fell out, that's what's going to happen with this one, okay? Because this was amazing. And I think that the pain that Julia Wolf puts us through in the beginning, and I challenge you that I know a lot of you love Julia Wolf like me, so you're just gonna trust it and go to it. But if you try this book, because I've recommended it, and you get to a point where you're like, Jen, you're wrong, like, I hate this guy, or Shira's too frustrating for me, why can't you just say, I just dare you to go, like, keep going. Like, keep going until a very specific scene in here where It has to do with where Roman and Shira live, okay? And if you can push to the point that has to do with their living situations, I think you will see how Roman could win you over, okay? So that is the deepest gush of the video, I promise. But when I reviewed this the first time, it wasn't out yet, so I didn't want to talk too much about it. But now it's here, and it's a 6-star. So next, I'll talk about Mr. Swoony by Piper Rain. This one is book 3 in the Nest series, which is a hockey romance series. And the Nest is this like apartment / condo complex that is near a bar that all of these hockey players have like lived at one point or the other. A few of them don't live there anymore because of the first 2 books. They have like gotten married, you know, or have a partner to live with now, and so they don't live there. But these hockey guys are all family. And at the end of book 2, there was a wedding that was supposed to take place, and we saw someone try to stop the wedding at the end of that book. And when we pick up with Mr. Swoony, we've actually went back in time about a week to a bachelorette party where our heroine was about, you know, like she's having her bachelorette party and she meets our hero. I think Connor is the hero's name. Yeah, I think it's Connor. And he meets this girl and they end up hitting it off. No, they don't like have an affair or anything at her bachelorette party, but they do end up stuck together for the night because of reasons. And as they talk, he's kind of like, I don't think you're marrying the right guy type of situation. And I really loved how things played out for them, because what happens is then we go forward a little bit and we see how he ends up actually stopping her wedding and how she was actually about to stop her wedding as well. And now she doesn't have a place to live. And so she ends up moving in with Connor, and now they're roommates. And I mean, they both know that they are attracted to each other, but she says, she's like, I'm not going to immediately get in a relationship with you because that would be really foolish of me to go from having been in a relationship with this guy for all this time to dating you. However, I'm not denying that we're both interested in each other, but I just need you to give me some time. And he's like, you know what? I will. And also she has a bucket list of things she's trying to do that her ex thought was dumb. He didn't want to do any of them with her. And I will say, this is a case of like Piper and Rain here. Okay. You made the ex a bit too much of a douche. Like, it's definitely one of those where like he didn't need to be that much of an ass, because you can use the excuse that like our heroine was going to marry him because like her father really wanted her to. Her father has died. And so this was like, he's such an ass that it made her look like a piece of paper that could be blown over at any moment. I think he still could have been an ass, but the way he laughs at her bucket list, I'm like, come on. Nobody would actually really do that. It made him look like an ass. But I loved this book enough, like I didn't get caught up on that because the stuff with her ex gets handled really quickly. And I just really loved how Connor did want to help her with her bucket list and how encouraging he was and how supportive he was. And that just made him feel just... I loved him. And so, yeah. And then this, I listened to the audio of this. I actually listened to the audio of every one of my favorites except for By the Letter. That is funny. Well, we can tell where my bias lies. I like a really good audiobook, that's for sure. That's so funny. But anyway, these have a full cast audio and are duet narrated. So the hero and the heroine narrated by, man, I forgot. Is it Aaron Mallon who does it? It might not be. That might be the other one. I don't have my notes up of like who. Well, Jen, why don't you have your notes up? My computer's literally sitting right here because I also have to film my weekly wrap up. So I have it right there. Who? It's Lucy Christian Bell. Okay, I wouldn't have got that. And Connor Craze, who I do absolutely love him. He's great. But yeah, they duet narrated this one. And I really enjoyed it. So yeah, this was a 5-star read for me, as they are, because they're favorites. And I highly recommend the whole series because they do really like go into each other. And especially if you do listen to all the audios of these, they are duet narration for the main couples, but then the other heroes in the series are all narrated by who they will be in the series. So the narrator of book 1, he is also in book 2 and book 3, right? And then like this hero who was narrated by Connor Craze. Connor Craze was in books 1 and 2 as the voice of himself. So like, it's like a full cast in that way, and it just makes it really fun. So highly recommend. Okay, then another one that I had an ALC of it is When We Burn by Kristen Proby. This is the first book in the Blackwells of Montana, which is a spinoff from The Wilds of Montana, which is a spinoff from all of her other books, because Kristen Proby's worlds are like all connected. This is the special edition that I got from Novel Grounds, which I do think is beautiful. I also like the orange pages, but I do think that this type of special edition that's like stiff like this is definitely meant to be a trophy on your shelf and not so much readable, which is fine. It's fine. But yeah. So When We Burn, this one is Erin Mallon and Sean Masters. So that's where I got the Erin Mallon. She was the next one on my list. And this one is a friends to lovers. It's also brother's best friend. It's also their families are super close with each other and kind of, honestly, kind of like raised each other in a way. Because the family that our heroine was from, Danny, was very abusive. And if you read The Wilds of Montana, you know a little bit about that. Her older brother is the hero who marries one of the Wild sisters, or the only Wild sister, and he's the only brother of her family. And we know what kind of an abusive life that she was in. And yeah, so she's been away for the last few years, going to school. And in that meantime, our hero actually had a one-night stand with a woman and had a baby, and now he's divorced from that woman, but he has this adorable little girl who's just gonna be starting kindergarten. And Danny is back in Montana, and she is going to be his little girl's teacher, and she also is renting the home that is just across the way from him. So they're neighbors. They were friends when they were kids. It's her brother's best friend. He is the fire chief, so there's lots of sexy tattoos and lots of sexy firefighting happening, and they're just reconnecting. And what I do love is that there's no real relationship drama. There is a little bit of other woman drama, but that's because his baby mama is a psycho bitch, not because he's like tempted by this woman at all. So I know not everyone cares about other woman drama, but it doesn't cause a breakup. It doesn't cause any of that. It's just she's a part of the nastiness and the bit of suspense. There's always a dash of suspense in these books, so she's a bit of part of that to it anyway. But then yeah, there's no third act breakup. This is really just like him proving to her that he wants her, asking her to be a part of his life. He tells her brother straight up, like, I want to be with your sister. And he's like, I wouldn't trust anybody with her but you, blah, blah, blah. All that beautiful stuff. We also have a curvy MC. I love this photo. Like, seriously, I had to have this. I'm so glad that I bought this special edition because it really is beautiful, even for the quality of that being a bit. It's not like it was $50 or anything. This literally was like the same cost as like one of the regular ones. So, you know what I mean? It's okay. But I love the covers of her books. This is gorgeous. So, love this one. Again, the narration was wonderful. I love Sean Masters. He should play between Sean Masters and Jason Clark. They should do every cowboy there is. And I think you'll discover, if you're someone like me who reads a lot of small town that have cowboys and single dads in them, if the author does audiobooks, they have Jason Clark or Sean Masters doing one of their books, right? They just do, because that's who's meant to do it, okay? That's who's meant to do it. Okay, next we have to talk about, which one do I want to talk about first? Okay, I'll do this one. Wild Side by Elsie Silver. So this is one that I don't want to talk about too much because it's not out, but also it will be out soon. Man, this book was so great. I had the audiobook of this one. This one is dual narration. Funny little side note, Elsie Silver just shared this like review where someone was like chewing her out because she doesn't do duet narration for her books. Well, she likes dual narration, and that's okay. Some people, it does like throw them out when it switches between male and female voices, and like there's room for everything. Also, duet narration is a very expensive, we talked about, and again, not that Elsie Silver couldn't afford that, but she also isn't paying for her audiobooks anymore these days. But still, that's her choice to do that. So whatever, I don't mind either way. Especially because Jason Clarke and Samantha Bentmore, they know what they're doing, okay? They know what they're doing. But this is Wild Side. This is book 3 in the Rose Hill series. I was lucky enough, like I talked about this in my book haul the other day, and I shared about this on Instagram. I cried when I opened this. I was so blessed to get it. I already had an ALC of this because Must Love Audio works with Elsie, and luckily I've had an ALC of every book in this series, which is amazing. I've loved Elsie Silver since 2022 at this point, and it was really great. But I did not expect Bloom to come through with an arc of this one, and I about died. So I actually did start annotating a little bit. Anywho, so this whole series has like single dads in it, basically. Though this one's a bit different because it isn't quite like a single dad situation as much. But this one is Tabitha and Reese. And so Reese and Tabby actually meet through her sister, her sister is renting a place from Reese. So Reese has a home actually in a town that's a ways away from like the Rose Hill area. And that is where Tabby's sister, I think, is her name like Claudia or something? I don't know what her sister's name is. Erica. It's Erica. Claudia is the mom from Finding Home, which I read last week as well, who also is dead. So that's sad. But anyway, Erica had what we believe is a drug overdose, is what it is hinted at. I believe that's what happened with her. Maybe it's even said, but like we know she had gotten back into drugs. But Reese was actually left as the guardian of Milo, who's her 3-year-old little boy, instead of Tabitha or Tabitha's parents. Reese was made the guardian. Now Reese, he feels a bit conflicted about this because he was friends with Erica, but also Erica's the one who, like, she knew his secret, that he was actually a famous pro wrestler. And he's basically in like a version of the WWE down in Florida. And he has a home in Canada, as we said, that he also rents out. And he does wonder whether Erica made him a guardian because of his connection with Milo, which he does have a really great connection with Milo, or because he's rich. And he ends up deciding that like he doesn't care if that's why. He wants to take care of this little boy, and he has been helping with this little boy. And for all that Reese knows, her family has like abandoned her, which is absolutely not true. Tabitha still comes to look out for her regularly, but Erica, not to give away the whole bag, but Erica has purposely kind of kept separation between Reese and any of Erica's other family. And so he believes that Tabitha doesn't even really care about this little boy because where were you when all this stuff was going down? And Tabitha believes that Reese had actually kicked Erica out of the rental situation, and that led to her spiraling and her death. So she's a very angry woman at the beginning of this book because she blames Reese, because it isn't just as simple as him kicking her out. Because here's the thing, if, she knows if her sister wasn't paying rent and that stuff happened, that like you would lose your place. But she had a pinky promise with Reese that if her sister ever didn't pay the rent, to please call her, because she wants Milo and Erica to have a roof over her head. And so she's like, I will take on that if you need it. And for what she knows, Reese kicked her out, and it led to the death of Erica. And so it isn't just as simple as like blaming him, because if this was a normal situation, it isn't the landlord's fault if you're not paying your rent. Like, they have to do that. But it isn't as simple as all that. But that is where the anger from Tabby is coming at the beginning of this book. And I know it might throw some people off because it's like, well, what did Reese do? Well, Reese also has some bad thoughts about Tabby that have been fed into by Erica as well. But the one thing they both agree on, and what we love to see, is that he is absolutely endeared with Milo, and he isn't so easily just going to hand over Milo to Tabitha and her parents just because she's the aunt. Like, he was made guardian of Milo, and he cares about Milo. This isn't even to him about honoring Erica's wishes. It's about he's going to take care of that little boy. And from what he's heard, Tabitha and her parents might not even know this little boy very much, you know? And Tabitha is just all wound up about that. And anyway, that is the struggle that's going to happen. Now, the way that things really kind of boil over into this, because this is a marriage of convenience, you may have noticed I said that he works in Florida. So he's actually an American citizen, and he does have like a home in Canada, but he's not allowed to be there full time. And so he will be taking Milo with him back to where he lives. Like, he's Milo's guardian, and he's going to take care of him. And Tabitha is ready to fight tooth and nail to not have that happen. So what way can we give Reese citizenship to Canada? Well, he can marry Tabitha. So that is how we will have a marriage of convenience in this one. And if you've read Wild Eyes, this does overlap with Wild Eyes a little bit, where our friends in Wild Eyes, they don't fully know how we've gotten to this marriage situation. And so this is really fleshing that out and giving some more color to how it happened. So that is the setup of this. And as Elsie Silver does, there are lots of moments that are going to tug at your heartstrings. You will find out why Reese is so connected to this little boy and why he's willing to kind of say, like, screw it to Milo's family in an effort to protect this little boy, why he's willing to take on the burden. We'll also find out why he keeps his job a secret, like it's not known that he's a pro wrestler. Very few people know about that. And it was honestly, I did not think I would like super enjoy a story with like a pro wrestler, but it was so fun. It almost had me wanting to like look some stuff up. I didn't, because it's not really my bag of tricks, but apparently it was Elsie Silver's bag of tricks, because she talks about in here how it was something she was really into as a kid, and she got a lot back into it while she was writing this book. So this book was great. It's a slow burn between the two of them. It's also just like, I love this little boy so much. And I just had such a good time with this. So I didn't give this one 6 stars, but really my only real critique of it is 2 things. Number 1, I still like Wild Eyes more. I liked both Wes and Skylar more, but I don't have a ton I dislike about them, because yeah, Tabitha starts out prickly. She starts out very like pushing him away, but there are plenty of heroines that happens with, and I still love them eventually. I did note that I wish we'd had more scenes with Milo. He's adorable. He was voiced so well by both of the narrators who voice him at different points, and he was the sweetest little boy, and I feel like we didn't get enough of him, honestly. Like, there were some scenes with him, but I wanted more, especially because the whole purpose of these two, what's bringing them together for so much, is him. And I feel like in the previous books, it was either A, explained better when the kids would be gone, and that's because there was an ex-wife in that situation who's a very good mom, and so West has shared custody with her, and so when the kids are gone for a week it's because they're with their mother, and so it made sense. Milo is 3 years old, and he's being taken care of by them, you know, and I feel like he was always asleep. And I'm like, I'm sorry, my niece is a 3-year-old. She does still take a nap, but that nap does not last all damn day. And, you know, he was just always was sleeping. So I know that's nitpick, but when we're talking about books that, like, I would probably give most of Elsie's a 6 star, there are just, like, some little things that, like, hold it back. And when I look at the series as a whole and I look at them laid out, I'm like, boom, Wild Eyes, it's my favorite. But this one may end up being your favorite, right? Reese is that character. Not only is his name Reese, which we know, that already puts him a cut above most if his name is Reese. But I also think that, I think his broody character type, it's a lot more like Ford. And there's some great scenes with Ford in this one as well. Like, he definitely brings his billionaire swagger to help us out a few times in here. And yeah, Reese is very private, very broody, but very obsessed with Milo. Like, just, that was great. And so, yeah, the teeniest, tiniest nitpick, but we're cutting blades of grass here down the middle, right? Splitting hairs, whatever it is. So, still really like this. It's a 5 star. I would read this again. I honestly definitely will. And I can't wait to get, I did still pre-order a copy. That was my art copy, as I said. And I can't wait for my copy that matches my set to come in. And I think it was fun. I think it was fun. And I was missing too some of like the cowboy vibe that I wanted. But I mean, I guess she does write some that don't have all the cowboy, but even Jasper, who's the pro hockey player, like he rides the horse with the Eatons sometimes. So I was missing too some of my cowboy vibes in that one. Which, I mean, again, I guess like Ford doesn't really do the horse stuff either, but West, again, that's why like Wild Eyes, that one's my favorite. This one ties kind of with Wild Love for me. And I believe I said this too when I did my rereads, that I gave Wild Love 6 stars, but I would probably give it 5 stars now, and Wild Eyes would stay at 6. So anyway, I don't need to over explain myself. Let's get into the last book that was my favorite of the month. Because the light is coming for me. Let me turn it a little bit. So this one, it was actually the last book I finished last night. It was one more book I was trying to squeeze into the month. I was listening to this while I was packaging up Patreon orders, and I did reading sprints with Crystal, and I was getting to all that stuff. And this was the last book that I finished. And guys, it was so good. It was so good. I can't wait to read the next one, which comes out on March 3rd. And that is The Secrets of Jane. Book 1 in the Improper Bastard series. And this one, the subtitle is The Secrets of Jane, The Forgotten, is what this one is called. And I was sent this book from NerdFam because book 2, as I said, is coming out March 3rd. And so they sent us a special edition of book 1 along with the ebook for book 2. And then there was also an audiobook for book 1, which is available now. You can listen to it. And after I talk about this book, I think you're going to want to do it. Okay. You're going to want to go get it. You're going to want to go get caught up so you can read book 2 as soon as it comes out. Okay. Because I got to tell you, this book was, how do I say it? It wasn't close to being like a 6 star because there are things holding it back for me, but it was easily a 5 star. And a lot of it was for vibes and for the audiobook, but it also was still a good story and I'm really sucked into it. And so the way I was describing this one is that, you guys remember how I like geeked out over Embers in the Snow last year, right? Which was not a perfect book. There's a lot of tropes you've seen before in it. It is like a vampire and a fated mate and like all those things in it. But it was such a good time. This really did the same, but in like a darker, piratey, siren type of way. Okay. So The Secrets of Jane here. This one is about, obviously, this woman named Jane and our male character whose name is Soren, who is a mercenary. And he gets sent to go capture Jane because there's something about her that there's this council that wants her. Let's just say that. I don't want to try to remember all the names of this stuff right now. Okay. And I'll take all the stuff out of the book because it keeps falling down. And she has this power. She has healing power. But that isn't the only reason they want her. They want her because of something that Soren doesn't know. But she has this tattoo that means something. Okay? That's what I'll say. And he doesn't even know about this tattoo, but he knows that he gets sent to get her. Now, he also has some magic powers. He can sense the intention of your heart, which kind of means he can read minds in a lot of ways. And he gets sent to get her. And so pretty early on, he does capture her. And, it's not going to be an easy trip for him to get her back where they're supposed to go. But throughout this trip of him having captured her, as he's learning more about her, they're both kind of playing this game with each other. He's trying to seduce her to get her to come easily with him. She's trying to seduce him so that she can get away, use her power on him and get away. And there's just this battle of wills going on between the two of them. And it really was a true enemies to lovers. Like, they were going at it with each other, and I was here for it. And then, as they go along and as he starts to learn more about her, he starts to realize that the reasons why this council wants to take her and possibly kill her are to protect some secrets that they have. And because of that tattoo that she has, which she did not give it to herself, it was done to her. I'm touching this because it's on her like chest area. There's something very special about her that he might not know fully what it is, but he needs to protect her still. And so they form kind of this alliance with each other that she is kind of being his kept woman as a ruse, but at the same time, like, they are very much attracted to each other, and they're like, we're not above actually being each other's lovers, even though it's supposed to be a ruse. So there's like that going on and everything. And there's also just this mad respect. Like, yes, he has her captured, but he knows that like she's not an easy woman to subdue, and he can't drop his guard for a second with her. So their first sex scene that they have, he actually does have her tied to the bed. It's a consensual sex scene, but he's like, I'm not letting you go because the last time you tried to use the sex to get away. So he's like, we're both agreeing to this, but I'm not going to let you have free reign of me. So yeah, he fucks her while she's tied to the bed, and she's totally into it. But it's also still kind of a hate fucking, because she's like, I want him to do this, but I did want to be able to manipulate him while we were doing it. Like, it's such a hot scene. So yeah, the mad respect they both have for each other, I loved. And it also does a thing in here too where, you know, he doesn't treat her like a delicate flower. So she does get, you know, tied to horses, thrown around a bit, because if he were to treat her delicately, she would take advantage of that. Like, he knows he has to keep his hands firmly on and keep a rope on her and all those things. So it was super hot. And yeah, and then there is a cliffhanger to this one of like them finding out some very intense info. By the end of this book, they are like fully in a relationship and fully working with each other, I will say that. But there is still so much story to go. So yeah, this has a cliffhanger. But again, it comes out on March 3rd. I already have the arc for it. I'm going to read it very, very soon. Like, I'm going to read it very quickly. And I'm going to buy the special edition of the second one, because they gifted me this one, and I'm going to buy more. So our heroine, as you saw in the picture I showed, so there is her. Here's a quote. It says, if Jane thought she wanted revenge, it's nothing compared to what they've just unleashed in me. And then on the back too, it says, any man who inspires you to speak of love that isn't me won't live to see the rising sun. So, as you can tell, very possessive hero. But why I also think you need to go grab this right away. So again, I said they gave me the audiobook of the first one, which I'm really glad they did, because I probably wouldn't have been able to squeeze this in at the end of the month if I hadn't have had the audiobook. And the audiobook is duet narrated by these two narrators that I haven't heard before. There was Anthony Palmini and Jackie Pryor. I may have heard Jackie Pryor before. I can't recall. But this was duet narrated, which again, as I mentioned earlier, that means that Jackie Pryor does all the female voices and Anthony does all the male voices. There was also sound effects. So each chapter starts with a little like musical theme, very Pirates of the Caribbean in there. Okay, like just chills all the time. And then there are sound effects spread throughout. So like if they're on a horse, you're going to hear the clopping. If it's raining, you're going to hear the rain. If they're on a ship, you'll hear the creak of the thing, like sprinkled out throughout. So it's not full-on graphic audio, but if you like graphic audio, I think you will also enjoy this, because there were some serious similarities. And so I ended up at the end of this, I gave this 5 stars. Now, like I said, it was an easy 5-star because of like just the vibe I got and because of the audiobook. I don't know what I would have rated this if I'd only read it. We'll see, because book 2, I'm going to just read it, because it will be a hot minute for the audio for the second one, because this author, Charlotte Mallory, she did the audiobook like on her own. I even was messaging her because, spoiler alert, for the month of March, I'm going to be doing some giveaways like for my birthday month. And I asked Charlotte if she would want to do a giveaway of hers, and she absolutely did. So, spoiler alert, there will be a giveaway of this coming to my Instagram and to my Patreon. But she does these herself, and I was complimenting her on the audiobook, and she actually did some of her own sound mixing, is what it sounded like. You know, like she got the narration pieces back and she added the sound effects in, which I'm like, that is so badass. But I'm not going to wait that long to get to it, because obviously if I don't buy her books, it will take even longer to get the second audiobook out, but I will absolutely reread it when it comes out. So yeah, loved it. I will have links to this and all the other books down below if you want to check them out. Yeah, this is Pirates of the Caribbean. There is some siren stuff going on. I don't want to spoil all that because some of it's secrets, but there's siren-y stuff happening in here. There also, someone said like it's Assassin's Creed meets Pirates of the Caribbean, and I definitely got those vibes. So there you go. Those are my favorite books of February. Look, I still was able to talk for ages and ages. I hope you will check these out and you will love them as much as I did. So thank you so much for watching, my friends, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.